So we recently made a video about the best downtowns in New Jersey, and as I was making the list, I quickly realized that there were simply too many good downtowns for one video. And that brings us here to part 2. We're covering 10 more of the best downtowns in the Garden State, and even still, I feel like I'm leaving some out. Jersey has an absolutely insane number of good ones for a state our size. So let's dive into it, and if you feel like I'm still missing any, leave a comment below. We might end up doing a part 3 of this series. First up for this video is Cranford. Cranford is a downtown that quietly does everything right and never asks for credit. It sits right on the Rahway River in Union County, with a train station that puts you in Penn Station in about 45 minutes, and a downtown that wraps around the water like somebody actually thought about it. There's a canoe club that's been around since 1908. You can rent a canoe in the middle of suburban New Jersey and paddle through downtown like you're in some Norman Rockwell painting nobody told you was real. Most American towns can't even keep their bowling alley open, and Cranford has a 117-year-old canoe club. Make it make sense. North Avenue and South Avenue are the spine. And the downtown is loaded with restaurants, a couple of legitimately good bars, the Cranford Theater, which has been showing movies since 1927, and just enough independent shops to feel like a real place. The bagel game is genuinely competitive, which in Jersey is the actual measure of a town. Cranford does flood sometimes. The Rahway River doesn't care that you just had your basement redone. Floyd, Irene, Ida, the river shows up uninvited about every 8 years and ruins someone's day. But the town just keeps coming back, sandbags out, sleeves rolled like, all right, fine, again. And then somebody opens a wine bar 3 weeks later. That's resilience. Next is Maplewood. Maplewood is what happens when a town becomes self-aware. They figured out about 15 years ago that they were charming, and now they will not stop telling you about it. Maplewood Avenue runs through a little triangle they call Maplewood Village, basically the most Pinterest-bait 3 blocks in New Jersey. There's a movie theater, a jeweler that's been there for decades, and a coffee shop on every corner doing the same exact pour-over with a slightly different vibe. The train puts you in Penn Station in about 30 minutes on Midtown Direct, and that's the whole game. Maplewood is full of people who used to live in Park Slope, then moved to Park Slope adjacent, then got priced out of Park Slope adjacent, then drew a wider circle and ended up here. They will tell you this within 4 minutes of meeting them, with the same energy a hostage uses to say everything's fine. But the downtown is genuinely good. South Mountain Reservation is right there. 2,000 acres of forest, waterfalls, hiking trails, all attached to the back of town like a backyard. Maplewood made a deal with itself to be insufferably nice, and they delivered. Next, Pitman. Pitman is South Jersey's secret, and the people of Pitman might not like me for outing it. Gloucester County, 12,000 people. Downtown that looks like 1955 wrote a love letter to itself. Here's the wild thing about Pitman. It started as a Methodist camp meeting in 1871. People came down here to camp out and pray. They built tiny cottages around an open-air auditorium called the Pitman Grove in this incredible spoke and wheel pattern with 12 avenues radiating out from the center named after the apostles. The Grove still does services in the summer. So yes, the entire street layout of one of the best South Jersey towns is a Methodist religious diagram from the 1870s, and nobody outside Pitman knows that. Broadway is the main strip. The Broadway Theater of Pitman is from 1926 and has been continuously operating, doing live theater, musicals, concerts. There's a vintage hardware store that still functions like a hardware store, a tiny ice cream place that gets a line down the block in July. The Uptown Pitman Bar District has actual nightlife. There's a brewery, a coffee roaster, and a bookstore, and somehow it all fits in like 8 blocks. The houses around the Grove are these perfect little Victorian cottages crammed shoulder to shoulder, all painted different colors like a kid's drawing of a town. People who grew up in Pitman never shut up about it, and after about 10 minutes there, you understand why. Next, Hoboken. I left Hoboken off the first list and people were furious like I'd insulted somebody's grandmother. Fine. Hoboken is one of the best downtowns in New Jersey. Are we happy now? Hoboken is 1 square mile of pure density. 50-something thousand people stuffed into a grid you can walk end to end in 20 minutes. Washington Street is the main drag, and it's one of the most successful main streets in America. Restaurants, bars, shops, coffee places, all in beautiful low-rise brick buildings with the Manhattan skyline visible at the end of basically every cross street like the city's hanging out a window. The Hoboken Terminal opened in 1907, and it's a Beaux-Arts masterpiece. Copper roof, vaulted ceilings, original ironwork, ferry slips facing the Hudson, path trains underneath, light rail outside. It is a working piece of 1907 infrastructure that is still moving tens of thousands of people a day, and it's one of the most beautiful train stations in the country. Frank Sinatra was born here. The first official baseball game was played here at the Elysian Fields in 1846. On the Waterfront was filmed here. Cake Boss is from here. Hoboken's cultural footprint per square foot is genuinely insane. Now look, Hoboken has changed. It's no longer the working-class Italian neighborhood your grandfather grew up in. In 2026, it's primarily young finance and tech professionals who moved here for the PATH train and the bars, and on any given Saturday afternoon, the bars on Washington are doing numbers that don't make sense. Brunch lines out the door, strollers at noon, bachelorette parties at 3, but the downtown bones are unbeatable. Hoboken earned the spot. Number 5, Frenchtown. Frenchtown might be the most charming town in the state, and the population is 1,000 people. You could fit the entire town in one section of MetLife Stadium and have empty seats. Hunterdon County, on the Delaware River, connected to Pennsylvania by a bridge, surrounded by horse farms and cornfields, and that very specific Hunterdon County vibe, where everyone has either a barn or a sculpture studio or both. The downtown is basically Bridge Street and Race Street, and that's the whole show. But what a show. The Frenchtown Bookshop, the Art Yard, a working arts center in a converted hatchery. The National Hotel, which has been a hotel since 1851, has a wraparound porch and serves food that's better than it has any right to be. The Bridge Cafe right at the river, an old-school general store. The Delaware River runs right alongside town. The towpath of the Delaware Canal is right there for walking and biking and goes on for 50-some miles if you've got the legs. People come out for the weekend, get a coffee, walk the bridge to Pennsylvania, walk back, eat lunch, and miss their dinner reservation back in the city because they decided to stay another night. It happens constantly. Frenchtown is what the rest of the country thinks small-town America should still look like and is shocked to find out it actually exists. Quiet, artsy, river town, drinks on a porch, no attitude. If you've never been, just go. You're going to be mad at me that you waited this long. Number 6, Ridgewood. Ridgewood is where North Jersey money goes to look casual. Bergen County, top of the heap, the kind of town where the median home price would buy you a small ranch in 20 other states. They've got the train, the schools, and the energy of people who all know exactly how much each other paid for their houses and pretend they don't. The downtown is built around East Ridgewood Avenue, and it's enormous for a suburb. Hundreds of stores and restaurants packed into an area you can walk in 20 minutes. Park West Tavern, Latour, Roots Steakhouse, actually serious restaurants. There's an independent bookstore. There's a giant gazebo on the train plaza where they do summer concerts, and yes, the entire town shows up. Ridgewood's whole identity is, we are the nice town and we know it. The Saturday Farmers Market has more people than some New Jersey towns have residents. The high school football team treats homecoming like a state holiday. The parade culture is out of control. Memorial Day, 4th of July, Halloween, Santa, you name it, they're closing the street and walking down it. Walk into Ridgewood on a Saturday and you are going to get rotated through 3 strollers, 2 French bulldogs, and a man explaining what private equity is to a woman who already knows. The downtown is gorgeous. You're just going to have to deal with the brutal parking. Number 7 is Metuchen. This town calls itself the Brainy Borough, which should be insufferable, but the town somehow pulls it off. Middlesex County, sandwiched between Edison and the rest of the chaos of Route 1. Metuchen sits there with one of the best train commutes in the state and a downtown that's having a genuine moment. Main Street and Middlesex Avenue are the spine, and the food scene has gotten ridiculous. This place has one of the largest Indian American populations in the area, and a downtown that reflects all of it without making a big production about it. There's a downtown plaza with concerts and farmers markets all summer. The train station is a 5-minute walk from Main Street Penn Station in 40 minutes. So the town is full of people who could afford to live in Brooklyn, but did the math and decided they'd rather have a yard, a porch, and not have to pay $19 for a sandwich. Smart people. The Brainy Borough. Checks out. Number 8, Madison. Madison is in Morris County, and they actually call it the Rose City. They grew commercial roses here for like 100 years, starting in the late 1800s when this was the rose-growing capital of America. The roses are mostly gone, the name stayed, and Madison is now a small downtown that punches incredibly hard. Drew University is right there, on the edge of downtown, which gives Madison that college town texture without it ever feeling like a college town. Fairleigh Dickinson is also in town, so there's a constant low hum of academic energy, which means the bookstores are good, the coffee is taken seriously, and the bars are slightly more interesting than they have any right to be. Main Street is loaded. The Madison Hotel is historic. The Shanghai Jazz Club has been doing live music 7 nights a week for 30 years in a town of 15,000 people. You don't really get that anywhere. Madison's deal isn't really the commute. It's that you can leave your house, walk 5 minutes, and end up at a jazz club, an Italian restaurant that opened in 1950, or a coffee shop where someone is reading actual literature. Quiet, tasteful, and a little smug about it, but fairly so. Number 9, Mount Holly. Mount Holly is a South Jersey downtown nobody really talks about, and that's frankly a crime. Burlington County seat, founded in 1676, and the downtown is one of the most architecturally intact historic towns in the entire region. High Street and Mill Street and Main Street are lined with 18th and 19th century brick buildings, and most of them are still standing, still being used. The Burlington County Prison Museum is in the original 1810 prison, designed by Robert Mills, the same guy who designed the Washington Monument. The architect of the Washington Monument designed a county jail in Mount Holly, and you can tour it. Allegedly haunted. Stories about Cell 5 going back over 100 years. The Millrace Village area has had a real revitalization push. Robin's Nest is a restaurant that put Mount Holly back on the foodie map in a beautiful old building. The Mount Holly Library is a Victorian Gothic building that looks like it should be in a movie about wizards. This downtown was rough for a stretch in the 80s and 90s. A lot of vacancy, a lot of decline, but the bones never went anywhere. The comeback over the last 10 years has been real. Just a working South Jersey downtown with 300 years of architecture and people who live there because they actually love it. That's the best version of a downtown you can have. And finally, Princeton. I'm going to keep this one short because if you've watched this channel for any length of time, you already know we've covered Princeton quite a bit, and for good reason. You could make a strong argument that it has the single best downtown in the entire state. Nassau Street, the university right there, the most beautiful Gothic campus in America, the bookstore, the Witherspoon Street restaurants, the architecture, the people who all somehow seem smarter than you in a way you can't quite prove. It's the whole package. I'm not going to spend 10 minutes on it because I've already done it, but it absolutely belonged on this list, and the only reason it wasn't on the first list is because, frankly, I've covered it in around 5 videos at this point. It's the obvious answer. It's the layup. So there you have it. 10 more downtowns in New Jersey that, between this list and the last one, should give you a pretty solid map of where the actual good main streets in this state are. And I am still going to get comments asking me, where was this town? Look, I know. Drop a comment if you think we should do part 3.